Nigerians are looking up to us regarding this bill, because somebody and many of my types in our early 40s, I don't know how this national anthem even affect the well-being of the common man in Nigeria. Let's be realistic. How this one will support the government to stop either hunger, banditry, or improve insecurity. To us, let's do what is beneficial to the common man, and this honorable chamber is the only, for now, standing on a formidable force, a point for the common man of Nigeria. So Nigerians are looking up to us. I concur with the minority leader. Let's look up something that will bring a development in the eyes of the international community to Nigeria. People are discussing nanotechnology, Internet of Things. We are still discussing national anthem. There was a saying that says countries that relies on prayers and other things will always depend on the countries that do think. Please, let's think something that will bring progress, prosperity, stability to the economy of this nation and to improve the lives of common man in Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, let's hear from Honorable John.
Honorable colleagues, I'm a Babao Chibok Dambo Goza Federal Constituency, and with the leave of the House, acting Chief Whip on this sitting. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to commend Professor Julius Ihombere, the famous academician in this country, and at the same time the leader of this 10th Assembly, for bringing in the need for us to change the current way of doing things that is not yielding any positive result. It has been accepted widely, on one hand, scientifically proved to be positive, that if you keep on doing one thing without result, it's an indication of lunacy, and it may not lead to success. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we are all aware that the national anthem we have been singing is not what we have been practicing as Nigerians. You say, arise, oh compatriots. Are we patriots? Who are the compatriots? Are we patriotic? Do we normally place our national interest against our individual interest? All these questions are supposed to be answered in as much as this current national anthem is working. Secondly, to serve our fatherland with love, strength, and faith, none of it happens. None. There is no love in the services we have been providing because our interest first before the interest of the nation. That is why people are even leaving the country to go and show love to other countries of the world, to show their strength, their capacity, their intellectual capacity, their educational pedigree to other countries of the world, thereby leaving Nigeria. And if you ask them, they will tell you they are holding Nigerian passport, they are Nigerians, and they are ready to put their love, strength, and faith in the country. How many of Nigerians have faith in the country? Go and assess. Most Nigerians have lost confidence, have lost faith in the country. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that people are not happy on their faces. Thirdly, which is the last, the labor of our heroes past should not be in vain. Are they not in vain? My father is a retired Nigerian army. His own pension has not been paid promptly. And you are here telling people that their own effort, their own sacrifices should be taken into cognizance. Just payment of pension. You have not been doing that. Another thing, Section 5 of the Contributory Pension Act is clear that there must be group life insurance cover for each and every employee of Nigeria, and the sum assured must be 3 times total annual emolument of that particular employee. How many civil servants benefit from this immediately after their own death or permanent disability. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that our civil servants contribute their own either 7.5% or any percent agreed as their contributory pension that is deposited in their retirement savings account. Up till now, as I'm talking to you, there are a lot of civil servants who have retired. They could not even get the 50% of their deposits in the retirement savings account, talk less of having an annuity plan that can sustain their living before their death. So, Mr. Speaker, we keep on doing one national anthem and we have not been adhering faithfully to it. For me, there is a need for us to have an alternative. Maybe it can work, because a clear indication of lunacy is where you keep on doing something and there is no result. This is my submission, and I want members, sentiment aside, to understand the reason why the current national anthem must go, and we must go back to where something that can work. Thank you, sir.
One federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Edo State. I rise to move that Bill HB 1470, National Anthem Bill 2024, be read a second time. I so move. I'm Professor Julius C. Hanveri, ON, DSSRS. I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, you know, a time comes in the life of every organization or nation when the people must sit down, look at the past, the present, the future, and have the courage, the sense of mission, and the sense of nation to define and design the way forward. I believe that Nigeria is at that stage momentarily. Great men have changed history. Whether you look at the history of Tanganyika under Mzilikazi, or you look at the wonderful contributions and historic exploits of Shaka Zulu, which is being used in many military academies today, or you look at Garibaldi, Mazzini, Count Camillo Cavo in the old Italian city-states, or you look at Bismarck in the German city-states, or you come to Nigeria and look at Murtala Mohammed. For the brief period he ruled this country, he had the courage to do things differently, to think differently, and to take unpopular positions that Nigerians adjusted to slowly, reluctantly, but recognized how important these were even after he died. Mr. Speaker, this bill is straightforward. It is a bill that seeks to enjoin us to look at our anthem as a national symbol and sign of authority, one that will pull us together, that will give us hope and courage, a sense of duty to the nation, that does not necessarily deny the reality. And that is the main problem of contemporary societies. They deny reality. They pretend racism doesn't exist, ethnicity doesn't exist, poverty doesn't exist. They rationalize this by looking at GNP, GDP, trade figures, inflation. The reality strikes people in the face. And it is when you admit the realities that you can tackle it and deal with it frontally. So it seeks to say that as people, as Nigerians, confronting a new, renewed hope, moving forward, tackling the rot, decay, dislocation, and distortions of the past, we should go back to our old national anthem, which gives us that energy, that sense of commitment, sense of dedication, and a desire to move Nigeria forward. I have taken time to look at both anthems, the old and the new. And as a Nigerian who's been involved in the struggle to make Nigeria a better place, either as a student in the student union movement, including putting in place the Ali Must Go movement, or as a university teacher, having been secretary, vice chairman, and chairman of ASU, or as a pro-democracy activist who spent 12.5 years in self-exile, working with other colleagues, and active on Radio Kurirat and the Nadeco Alliance, including JACON, the Joint Action Committee on Nigeria, with very prominent Nigerians, including our current president and the Nobel laureate of this country, Wole Soyinka, and others. I believe that the old anthem encompasses, contains, and exudes the kind of energy, resourcefulness, and sense of vision that I believe is good for Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, the old anthem not only begins by telling us of the pride to serve our nation, which is what we require right now when people are buying left, right, and center. But it goes on to assert the sovereignty of our motherland.
It's Jakbai English language.
It is now in the lexicon.
Okay, it's now in Google.
Yes.
In the lexicon.
Yes, yes. If you Google it, you will see it will come up.
Oh, Jakbai, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it means Jakbai means leaving the country.
Leaving the country.
That's a new one.
It also talked about the value of our.
I didn't know that professors use. But it's all right. Go ahead.
It talks about the value of our national flag, which people tend to take for granted. In fact, some nations have gone to war because people abused the national flag. It proceeds to talk about it as a symbol of what we represent as a people. Nigerians, people known all over the world. There's a video trending now which says that Nigerians are the new colonizers, and goes on to describe what we have done, intellectual sector, in IT, in music, in culture, in sports, you name it. And that we should all continue to join hands, though tribes and tongues may differ. In brotherhood we stand. Nothing can divide us. That brotherliness is what we need to engage the challenges we are facing now. And I believe when it says that whether in peace or battle, all the things we stand to gain, but what we will hand to our children, posterity, the dignity of nationhood. But more importantly, we will leave them with a banner without stain. To me, that sounds even...
Okay, lead around them.
A stronger spiritual injunction.
Because you are very spiritual now. The spirit of lecturer has enfolded you.
Mr. Speaker,
you have taken us through philosophy. You have taken us through a journey.
Allow me to round up.
History and everything. So round up.
You know, Mr. Speaker.
I know you are passionate about
this.
It's
like when you go to one buka where they serve good amala gbegiri with a wedu and the necessary ingredients. You are used to it. And somebody wants to take you to another restaurant, you tend to resist it. But if you do not try another restaurant and another menu, you will not know the value of diversity, strength in diversity, vision in diversity, commitment in diversity, sacrifice in diversity, brotherhood in diversity, and the desire to achieve and make a nation better than it currently is. I urge my colleagues to rise beyond emotion, to rise beyond the status quo, to rise beyond the sentiments, to recognize the fact that the anthem that we had before gives us those ingredients that will empower us, give us the spiritual, psychological, political, economic, social, cultural ingredients we need to push ahead as a nation and take our rightful place in the Committee of Nations. I so move, Mr.
Thank you, Leader.
Three stanzas here. Secondly, if you look at the old national anthem, there are things that we have carried that are not as contained in the old national anthem. So I think that some of these things should be corrected. You can ask the Secretary things like, if you take line 3, though tribes and tongues may differ, the old national anthem has no S. It's though tribe and tongue may differ. That is what is contained in the old national anthem. So perhaps just to call the attention of the Secretariat to take their time to clean all these things up. There are so many slight errors, commas and all that, and full stops. Those are the issues I wanted to draw the attention of the House.
The one you just mentioned that had to do with 6, and so 6 being the record as amended, carried as amended. 6 carried as amended. Let's move 7 as amended. 8 as amended. 9 as amended. 10 as amended. Please read and move that we refer to plenary to consider report.
Today we are taking ourselves back to that old national anthem. Incidentally, I will even ask again, is this very important at this particular juncture in our national life? What value would it add to us as a nation? I think that these questions need to be answered. Nigerians are looking up to us for more fundamental issues that will cause proper change. Like Prof took us to history lane, that great men make history. What is the history that we are about to make? History that will change this country, or history that will take us backwards? There are several questions that are left unanswered. So I would stand this morning as a Nigerian, or this afternoon as a Nigerian, to say no to this act. I stand to oppose it, and I pray that we look at it critically and urge the sponsor, the House leader, to withdraw this bill and perhaps take a second look at it and represent same if necessary. My dear colleagues, whilst it is our function to make laws for the good governance of Nigeria, but then for every law, there must be a clear purpose, a clear vision, a clear spirit behind the law. Now, if we ask ourselves one question, what is the essence of a national anthem? I would say, just like other national symbols, the national anthem represents the tradition, the history, the beliefs of a nation and its people. Hence, it helps evoke feelings of patriotism among citizenry and reminds them of their nation's glory, beauty, and rich heritage. So the question I will want to ask is, what does this old national anthem remind us of? What is the history behind the old national anthem that our brother, Honorable Professor, is asking us to adopt as our national anthem this morning? History dates back to colonialism.
That's echo.
And why did we go for a new national anthem? Because we wanted to lose ourselves from that colonial tie. And so the country set up a committee to look at the national anthem and a new national anthem amongst competitors which filed in their suggestions. 5 of them were picked and put together, and that gave us the national anthem that we have today, made by Nigerians, composed by Nigerians, and proper Nigerian national anthem. Let me also remind us that the old national anthem was authored by Lillian Jane Williams and composed by Francis Bender, both of them Briton. And after independence, we tried as much as possible to Nigerianize our actions.